Good afternoon. We're going to start just a few minutes early, just because we can, and the time is quite limited to begin with. I'm John Challey. This is Sandra Hotz, and the two of us together are the co-directors of Northwest Surrogacy Center. Northwest has been around for 21 years, one of the older agencies in the United States. And it's located in Portland, Oregon. We also have an office that's very busy in San Francisco. It's only a year old, a little over a year old, but has proven to be a very fast-growing area. The population there is wonderful for us. California has a good statute to establish the legal parentage, and the community is very supportive. So there's lots of reasons to want to work in San Francisco. Oregon also has all of those characteristics as well. We consider ourselves to be a full-service agency. We started this, both Sandy and I are attorneys, and we started with a history of 30 years doing adoption work. We've probably done between us over 3,000, actually it's more than 3,000 adoptions over the last 35, 40 years. And so it's been a whole lot of what we do. In that role, we're spending all of our time establishing the legal relationship between parents and their children. And so we do have a lot of experience. We're hoping to get towards the end of this presentation some of the parentage information that I know a lot of you are interested in. As I started to mention, we're a full-service agency, which means that we take you from the very beginning of the process to the very end. We have 23 people working in the Portland office. We have fewer in the San Francisco office. At the very beginning of the process, we work at helping you find a surrogate. And that's one of the most important things in the entire process that we do for you. We start every month by receiving information on about 300 women, information that they've given to us that we review. And by the end of the process, we will end up by working with about 7% of them, or 21 out of the 300. So that the screening process is really quite substantial in that way. And maybe, Sandy, you could talk a little bit about the screening process and maybe begin with who this group of 300 women are.
Who are these women, yeah. I think that's always one of the really big questions that people have about who would be a surrogate and carry somebody else's baby for them, or babies. I think that they all say they really love being pregnant, which is kind of surprising. But I think it's true, and I think they all really want to help somebody. They many times know somebody who's had fertility issues, or they have friends or relatives who are gay, and so it just seems like something that I think that they all really talk about how important having children was to them, and they can't imagine somebody who can't do that themselves. So that's always something that they articulate. The money is important to them, but I don't think that it's enough money. It's a lot for you guys to pay, but I don't think it's enough money for that to be the only motivation. The women that we work with, I think, are amazing women. They are between the ages of 21 and 40. They right now live in Oregon, Northern California, or Idaho, and they have to have children and be parenting their children. We want to know that they have had good, healthy pregnancies and deliveries, and we have several screening steps that we do with them. They'll fill out a questionnaire for our office. We will do a phone interview with them, and then we invite them in to our office for an in-person interview, and we run background checks on them. We're looking for both criminal and civil information. We run background checks on not only the surrogate, but also her husband or partner, if there is one. And then we get her medical records from her previous pregnancies. We have those reviewed by an IVF clinic. We want to make sure that those pregnancies were really healthy. And then we have a psychologist that we send her to for a psychological evaluation. And we also send a social worker to her home to do a home visit. And we get written reports back from both the psychologist and the social worker, and we can share those reports with you. We want you guys to have as much information as you can about the surrogates. Probably about 70% of our families are gay, and probably about 53% are international. So we see, or 58%, I guess. And so we ask surrogates who they're interested in working with. And there's sort of a mutual selection process that goes on there when we're matching families and surrogates. It's important for you to feel comfortable with her and vice versa, so we're not going to try to match a surrogate who only wants to work with a straight couple with a gay family. And in the states where we're working, we don't have any, very diverse states and very liberal states, we don't have trouble with finding surrogates to work with international families. Sometimes it's easier to match surrogates with English-speaking families, just because they want to have a relationship and it's easier for them to communicate with you because they don't speak French or Dutch or German for the most part.
Once you've met a surrogate, you then enter into a contract with her. And that contract is one that we provide to begin with, a draft of. You go to your lawyer, surrogate goes to her lawyer, and the lawyers finish it up and come up with a specific language and agreement. Once that's done, you're just really beginning the process. And the purpose of that contract to begin with is to establish a relationship between you and the surrogate. And I strongly suggest that anybody going through this be kind and patient, even gracious, as they go through the contract process, because it is the first real work that you've done together. And you just want to keep thinking about this woman carrying your baby for the next 9 months and making sure that she has fond feelings for you. So give her a chance and help her as you go through the process of entering into the contract. Second thing that's really close to that is once you're there, once she's pregnant, do what you can to make her happy. And that's just simply because the closer you are to her, the more information that you're going to receive, the closer you are and the happier she is, the happier you're going to be as intended parents, and the happier your baby is going to be, because she's going to be born, or he or she is going to be born, to a surrogate that is comfortable and happy with the overall circumstances. As far as the process is concerned, as soon as this match has been made, you're going to be assigned a caseworker. And the caseworker will follow you from there to the very end of the process. And by the end of the process and sometimes even after, you have the child, bring the child home from the hospital, and then return to your country. And the fact is that there's a lot of communication that goes on during that process. We want you to have a relationship again, and what happens is that during the months of pregnancy, we want to see that relationship is continued, so that you're talking to her, she's talking to you, you're providing information to one another. And what happens under those circumstances is that you're more relaxed, she's more relaxed, and quite frankly, there's less for us to do, because during that time period, what our main goal and main work is to make sure that you have as much of a relationship as possible and as much communication as possible. I want to talk about a couple issues. One of them has to do with parentage. And this is probably the issue that we understand the best, because we've been working specifically in the area, as I mentioned before, of establishing legal parentage for the last 35 years. What's nice about both Oregon and California is the clarity of the work that we can do in this area. So let me stand back just for a moment and say that in all of the years we've done this, and we've done hundreds of them, we have never had one of our clients have their request for court-established paternity either denied or even delayed. That's an absolute statement. And it's not that somehow something can't happen in the future, I can't speak to that, but the fact is that up to this point, we have never had any difficulty with that. The same is true in the California cases as well. California has a very clear contract. It is meant to establish clarity with respect to your paternity and your parental rights. In both cases, we are successful in working with your lawyers in your home country to make sure that you get what you need to do the very important, first, re-enter your country with the child. Secondly, to make sure that your legal relationship, your parentage with the child, is honored by your country. And then thirdly, that your child be able to obtain citizenship. In each one of these cases, we would want to work with a lawyer representing you here that would allow us to talk, have questions answered, and understand what sort of documents that we can obtain and that you're going to need for those three very important things. I want to talk real briefly about insurance. Insurance is something that so many of our clients really want to know about, often the earliest questions that they ask. Right now, we have been, we find it very successful in obtaining insurance through Obamacare, or what we call the Affordable Care Act. The background of that is that over the years, the 21 years we've been in business, we have never failed to obtain insurance for a child born into our program. And despite that, it's one of the things that we're the carefulest about today. Obamacare does have a provision that allows you to provide insurance, to go out and purchase a policy of insurance directly for the child. And so, child's born, you come into the office, we go onto the internet, we put together with you, you choose a policy, and that policy is purchased right there. It costs about $200 a month per child, so it's per month per child, and we strongly recommend that you keep that policy for a period of 12 months. So it's $2,400 to pay for the medical insurance for a child for a year. There's other approaches to take. There's a Lloyd's of London policy that's hideously expensive, significantly increasing the cost of the entire process. Some people historically, and we've done some of this too, have added the child to the surrogates policy. There's some real problems with that have been arising recently, and we now strongly suggest against that. And we have lots of information on why that we could go into in a more personal circumstance where we have more time to talk about it. The fact is that we're successful with insurance. You'll be successful with insurance, but it takes a plan, and the plan needs to start at the beginning. And any agency that you work with should be able to talk about that and be able to give you some real ideas on what to do. If you have an agency that just says, don't worry about it, find somebody else, because this is an issue that really can be very difficult. Especially in cases of twins, there can be hundreds of thousands of dollars of medical bills, and you want to have insurance at that point. I'm a little bit concerned about time because we're about ready to be cut off. So what I would like to do, we have 3 or 4 minutes for questions. What sort of questions do you have for Sandy and me? Okay.
Nobody's asked anything about timelines or anything like that.
So let's talk about timelines. Right now, our clients who sign up with us have
Go ahead.
6 months.
Yeah. I was just going to say, we sometimes get calls from people who say, oh, I'd like to be pregnant in June, and that's not possible. It takes a while to find a surrogate, and then it takes several months to get through the process of the contract and the physical medical screening, and then she takes medication for about 5 weeks to get ready for the transfer. So you're looking at least 3 to 4 months from the time you're matched with a surrogate, and then you have to add the time of the time that it takes to be matched with a surrogate, and then you also have to add 9 months of pregnancy. So it does take a little bit of planning. You're looking at least usually a year and a half until a baby comes.
And you'll find that a lot of that during that time when you're waiting for a surrogate to be matched with a surrogate, there's lots of stuff to do. You need to have a clinic. You need to be finding an egg donor. You want to be creating embryos. You want to be deeply involved with all of that process. We work with clinics all over the United States. The fact is that we particularly like a clinic that is within 2 miles of our office. It's got some of the best statistics in the United States for your category of patients, and by your category, I mean ones using a gestational carrier and an egg donor. And Oregon Reproductive Medicine literally has the best success rates in the world under those circumstances. So we love working with them, and we love working with them because they consistently get our clients pregnant. The fact is that if you get pregnant, we have an option, we have an opportunity to be successful, and if you don't get pregnant, we've already lost. I think we have time for just a few questions if you have any. Yes?
Your agency, it's not really clear for me that with a full service agency, does it mean that if I would like to choose the egg donor and the surrogate as well, is that possible, or you choose always the surrogate because of your screening process,
Sure.
etc.? Or you screen the surrogate, who am I choosing, like a friend or family member?
As far as the surrogate, we would be screening surrogates and offering them to you. If you had a surrogate in mind already that you wanted to use, we would screen that surrogate on your behalf, and you could work with her as well. So that's a choice that you have in the process. I will tell you that it's rare for people to come to us with a surrogate already. It doesn't happen very often, but we've done it before, and we'd always be happy to do it.
And the egg donor?
And with the egg donor, that's totally your choice. You can go to the clinic if they have an egg donor program, or you can go to many other commercial egg donor programs in the United States. I wanted to thank you very much for coming today. I want you to know that we would love to give you more information about this. We Skype on a daily basis between Oregon and Europe, and if any of you have questions, just send an email. We'll set up a time, and we'll have a discussion that lasts an hour and a half rather than 15 minutes. Thank you very much. Hope you find what you're looking for.